Hello everyone, good morning. Welcome to this series of talks that I intend to give around working with the medicine wheel. So if you feel naturally drawn to shamanic practices, you may be interested in starting to consciously work with the medicine wheel. In my case, I use the North American medicine wheel, as was taught to me by my teacher, Chris Lutikow of Northern Drum. Other people may work with the traditions of the South Americas, or perhaps their native lands. If you're local to the UK, you may work in a Druid tradition and follow a Druid path, or you may have other ways of working. I find that every Indigenous people, every First Nations people will have ways of consciously connecting to these directions. And over the next few weeks, it's my intention to bring to you just a little nugget of ways that you can work using the medicine wheel as a template for life. I've found in my experience that the more I embody these practices and bring them into my life, the more conscious awareness I can bring to my daily experience of my life. And I can also place that in a context of the bigger picture of the world out there. So for example, the medicine wheel moves in a circle. It's not linear. It's a process through which we move and we return to over and over again. So while we may have the embodiment of birth, adolescence, marriage and unity, aging, and then death, we may also have in a single cycle, spring, summer, autumn, winter, and the different qualities that these times of year can bring. So the way I work holds that the north is the direction of the ancestors, the wisdom keepers. It relates to mental clarity and holding that ability to really embody our lessons and to bring that wisdom and that knowledge out in the world. It's also the place where we might give thanks to our own ancestors, thanks for the lessons that they could not surpass, and thanks for the lessons that they could and that they passed on to us. And regardless of whether your relationship with your ancestors is a great one, a scarred one, a dreadful one, or is non-existent, the very fact is that you're here listening to this talk now because of those ancestors. So we have some thanks to give. And the north relates to the color white, perhaps to the cold lands of the north, but more importantly, to the white hair representing the elders. So in traditional cultures, elders are really seen as wisdom keepers, of guardians of the sacred and of knowledge. But in our culture, we tend to relegate our elders to being in care homes or infantilized, or perhaps their voices, perhaps we often patronize them. However, when we really dig into the wisdom of what it means to have lived a long life and to have gathered an awful lot of experience, either consciously or subconsciously, we know that there is gold to be learned from listening to these elders. And on the medicine wheel, everything rests in balance. So opposite the north is the south, the direction of the child. And we'll come to that in one of my other talks. I'm going to move around week by week around the 7 key directions of the medicine wheel. And you can take what you want from these little offerings. The north not only relates to our capacity to embody being an elder and to transmute the wisdom that we're gathering through our life experience, it also relates to mental clarity, to our ability to be discerning, to use our will, to think clearly, and, as with the warrior and as with wisdom, to call upon action, planning, strategy, these tools of the mind that help us turn a thought into a project or an idea or an action that we need to take. And the shadow side of that might be that we become controlling and rigid or dogmatic in our beliefs. But no, that's not wisdom. Wisdom is the ability to listen, receive, and hear every perspective, to digest and process that, and then to find the truth in the body and to respond from that place of humble responsibility. So here we may be working with the energies of the heart. We may really be wanting to look into what it means for us to become an elder. Do we fear death? Or do we accept that as part of life? If you want to give offerings in this direction, you may want to consider sweetgrass, a beautiful herb that can really clear an energy in a room and bring in that sweetness that represents our gratitude and appreciation for life. And you can call upon the horned creatures, the bison, the buffalo, the stag, the elk, all of these animals whose horns represent their connection to spirit. An inquiry here might be, do I have a spiritual practice in my life? And we're not talking religion here, we're talking spiritual practice. And it might be that you spend 5 minutes in meditation each morning. Or it might be that when you open your curtains, you give thanks for the sun and for the nature that you can see out of your window. These are the kind of practices that can become a spiritual practice. It can be as simple as that. Or you may want to deepen your learning and perhaps follow a shamanic path or find some other practice of spiritual awareness. And whatever you choose, this is really about reconnecting to your higher self and to your ability to call upon your guides, call upon your ancestors, call in that energy of embodying the wisdom that life can bring us when we are open to receiving and open to listening. So this is a basic introduction to the qualities and spirits of the North and what you can perhaps rest a while in, meditate on, and bring into your own life. In my next session, we'll be talking about the qualities of the East. So I do hope that you can join me. I'm really looking forward to being able to connect with you and share some ideas about how you can bring some of these beautiful, very, very old practices into your life to bring joy to your heart space, to bring greater awareness to your thoughts, to bring greater self-mastery. And as my teacher said, you know, in shamanic practice, we're really learning how to let the wind blow through you, how to receive these teachings and not get stuck in our own stories and our personal dramas, but rather to understand what they came to teach us and to receive those blessings with gratitude. Thank you for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.